Live from News Channel 8 in Tampa, Florida, this is Bucs Bonus on WFLA Now. Powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY.
Brady and the Bucs falling apart after a Thursday night loss to the Baltimore Ravens, marking their third straight defeat, along with major news in Brady's personal life making headlines today. Can the Buccaneers right the ship? We're live on Bucs Bonus, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY, to ask our two Bucs insiders that very question. Hey there, folks. JB here with you live on Bucs Bonus, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY, with Dan Lucas, Karen Loftus, who covered the game last night. Thursday night football, national TV, or streaming, depending, of course, on how you watch these days. As we look here at our Week 8 recap, the Ravens beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady and the offense just could not click yet again. Dan, why don't we start with you this week? What is going on with Brady, the Bucs offense, and really the team altogether?
Well, I think offensively, we're beginning to really see. The sample size is there now that the guys that we're missing, and I'm talking about guys that aren't on the team this year, as in Ali Marpet, and I'll say Ryan Jensen because he's not in his position at the moment, and Rob Gronkowski. These are pieces that enabled Tom Brady to function within the offense smoother, and I think that he doesn't have time to throw the football. We figured that out. And teams are stacked up. They're not going to let him run. They're going to make Tom Brady throw it on him. And so when you're throwing to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, who's not 100%, and then fill in the blank, Russell Gage is hobbling around, Julio Jones hobbling around, they're taking away this offense piece by piece. And I think the formula's there. And the Bucs have to figure out a way to get through this their way. They can be stubborn about it, or they can try and tweak some things here on the bye week. It's not a bye week; it's an extra few days off after the Thursday night game. But something has got to change because statistically, offensively, it's an absolute disaster. Now they lead the league in passing, but we all know why, because they have to pass.
Right.
Because the run is dreadful.
Right. Well, and also. That's great, everything, right? But you're not comparing passing yards. It's like,
right.
Okay, that's a great category to lead in,
yeah.
but nobody's winning games by having more passing yards than the other team.
Right. But it's there's a lot of pressure right now on Byron Leftwich, who has come up with Bruce Arians. And it was pointed out to me today, I'll go back 2 games ago. I don't know what it was now. The Steelers game, 3 games ago. You have Mike Tomlin on the other sideline, who coached with Bruce Arians in their last Super Bowl win. This is Bruce Arians' offense from those days with Big Ben to Arizona to Tom Brady here in Tampa Bay. Mike Tomlin has the book on this offense, and he helped master a plan that was really a great effort. Then they were missing so many guys on defense. And I just think other teams have followed, and it's just unfortunate to see Tom Brady, who's not moving around like he used to back in the day. He's not able to get out of sacks. There was a play last night where he had to abandon the check downs and run. He couldn't. What did he gain? 3 yards?
Couple.
Slide and grass. He's picking chunks of grass out of his knee brace. It just was ugly, and I don't know when or how this turns around. But it has to.
We, of course, have been talking on Bucs Bonus the last couple of weeks about the Buccaneers' problems. Are things getting worse, Karen? Are they, or are we just seeing the same team take to the field each and every week? Is there something that you can pinpoint here that is going on with the Buccaneers, or is it just a myriad of problems on full display on a night like last night on Thursday Night Football? Yeah,
I think it's the latter, and I don't think things are getting worse. But I think you're talking about seeing the same things and them not being able to correct the mistakes that keep happening. But it's like different players each week. Like Tristan Wirfs was saying last week, he was like, it's you're watching the film and it's one guy has a bad play here, one guy has a missed block here, and it's one play here and there. But throughout the course of the game, the timing of those plays can just derail everything, especially when you're talking about making those mistakes or taking penalties early in the game. That's sort of what we've seen. I mean, so let's talk about a bright spot. So we saw the Bucs score their first
Right.
quarter touchdown. We're like, okay, here we go. They got out to the fast start that they wanted, right? And then they're like, okay, well, field goal the next drive. Great. Okay, 2 drives, 10 points. That's great. And then from there, the Ravens go on a 21-3 run, and it was a total shift. And you don't know if it's the Ravens making adjustments or they're making the mistakes. And from talking to the guys in the locker room, and you might agree with this, Dan, that nobody seems to know what it is. You ask them and they're like, we wish we knew, because then we wouldn't be sitting here at 3-5.
To make a Halloween reference, this is a case of Jekyll and Hyde with this offense right now, because a couple of drives last night, they looked great.
Yeah.
They look like the Bucs of old, and then a
and
couple
big plays too. That was very encouraging.
Big plays, but as we look here at the Week 8 recap on your screen, I'm looking over at Lenny. We pay a lot of attention on this program to Lenny Fournette. 24 yards on the ground. That's just not the way that this offense was built before the season began. They wanted to run the ball more. They wanted to pound the ball more with Lenny, and we saw a little bit of Rashad White yesterday. He was, one of the few bright spots on the team, but running the ball, Dan, last night seemed to be a chore for this team.
Yeah, I just, the beginning of the game for me, I was very pleased with it because, as you know, a lot of teams, and the Bucs are included, like to, for the most part, script how especially the first drive goes, but 10 plays, 15 plays,
yeah.
and it went off as planned, but then they went 5 possessions in a row, punt, 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 punt. And it was 3 and outs, 4 plays, nothing extended. And I'm not going to make an excuse here, but your defense, which started out terrific, you could see the gas gauge just going lower and lower. And the Ravens, on the flip side, who were throwing to try and go after these backup players in the Bucs that were had in the defensive backfield, abandoned that because it wasn't working. They went to their MO, and that's just run all over the place. These guys couldn't stop the run at all. Chasing Lamar Jackson, as you know, when you watch Lamar Jackson, it's so entertaining. But when it's your team trying to tackle him, you're just watching guys chase. It's like trying to chase a cat. The guy's like going all over the place, and you're thinking, why can't you catch this guy? And then the whole run game in general in the second half for the Ravens was terrific.
Am I crazy to say that I think, based on what we know Lamar Jackson is capable of, that he was at least partially contained last night, that he didn't have one of those 40, 50-yard scrambles for a touchdown that we're used to seeing from him? It wasn't Lamar Jackson that single-handedly dominated the Bucs last night, Karen.
No, and I was thinking about that. So for the first half, they did great. Granted, Lamar Jackson wasn't running the ball. He was passing the ball.
Yeah, they were getting to him, and they got to him.
But he had 1 rush yard. And I asked Keanu Neal last night, I said, you guys did a really good job containing Lamar Jackson, obviously pointing out the fact that he wasn't running all over the field. And I said, are you happy with that? Was that a positive? And he said, yes, absolutely. We had it together early on in the game. And he's like, just from there, it was like a lack of execution, which seems... Yeah. He said their communication was better. Keanu said that he thought that was an improvement, but it's the execution.
Yeah.
And that was one thing we were talking about on the short week is the only way to bounce back is to prove your execution in a game. Okay, well, you have a short week. You get to prove this execution quicker than you normally would. And that's got to be a double deflation of being okay, we lost again, and we had this opportunity.
They're making adjustments week to week, but it's just not showing up in the box score. It's not showing up in the wins and losses column.
Points for sure.
That brings us to our injury report for this week as we bring up the injury report. And it's definitely bad news for the Bucs, as it has been ruled that Shaq Barrett out for the season, Dan.
Yeah, he's one of the guys with 3 sacks. Collectively, the Bucs have done a really good job of getting to the quarterback. They don't have the 10, 15, 20 sack guy yet. Shaq maybe could have been that guy, but he was looking for a little bit of a breakout, and unfortunately for him, it ends here before we get to the midway point of the season. And so now this puts pressure on your outside linebackers to get up and just replace him. Depth, you're digging into your depth. And
I
now the
thought Shaq
Bucs
looked
have roster spots to deal with to try and solve this issue.
I thought he looked pretty good last night.
He's
Yeah.
been looking good.
He was
So
looking good.
yeah. So the thing that some people were pointing out was like where his quarterback sack numbers were like lower than he's used to. But and he even admitted, he's like, yeah, man, like I wish they were more. But then Todd Bowles was very quick to point out, like, listen, he is getting to the quarterback, but the ball's gone. So just because it doesn't count as a sack, like he's there,
Right.
he's been there, and he has been that pass rusher. You're just not quantifying it in the sacks because the ball's gone. So he's been a major impact player, you know, beyond the stat sheet. So I mean, it's super unfortunate for him. I mean, it's just. You hate to see anybody hurt off.
Right.
It's just.
I thought last night
stinks.
the interior part of the defensive line did a good job against the Ravens, especially
Vita got a
in the
sack.
passing.
Yeah.
When they were
Impressive one,
pass
too.
heavy in the first half, where they really put pressure on Lamar Jackson. And they kept saying on the broadcast that the Bucs are blitzing, and they blitz a lot, but they weren't blitzing every play. They were getting a good push. And my biggest fear when you're going up against Lamar Jackson is when you get to him, in the backfield, he could be 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That's when he's his most dangerous. If you're going to lunge and you're going to make that commitment, he might just step right around you and make you look silly and either get the pass away or gain 6 yards or 15 yards on his own with his feet. He didn't do that last night, especially in the first half, and so that's why I was really impressed with Vita Vea. As you mentioned, Vita got a hold of him. Vita reached out, grabbed him, and even Lamar said, you got me.
Right.
That was a good sack. That was a good one for sure. But part of that is teams respect and they fear the outside pass rush. I think Joe Tryon-Shoyinka had some moments last night. He got to the quarterback a couple times as well. But, yeah, they got to get that shored up. I think we're going to see a lot of Carl Nassib here moving forward.
That was my next question. The next man up mentality is Nassib the guy?
I think. I mean, he's a solid performer. He's not Shaq Barrett, but Carl Nassib's pretty good. That is not a major drop off. Trust me, Carl Nassib's going to be just fine in that spot.
So Shaq Barrett, a tough loss as far as the remainder of the Bucs season, and from all of us here, we hope we're just praying for a speedy recovery for Shaq. Let's move on to the next major headline in Bucs world at the moment, and of course it comes back to Tom Brady. And this is, of course, the news today. Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen announcing formally on their social media accounts that the divorce has been finalized. It is confirmed. Of course, the reports online is that they mediated to an agreement, and the divorce is official now. No more, rumors and speculation. All these sources who know the two speaking out to members of the media. So this is a big mainstream story, less of a sports story. We have talked about it on previous editions of Bucs Bonus, but there's no way for Bucs fans to escape the news because everywhere you look right now, it's Brady this, it's Gisele that, Gisele being in Miami, Tom being here in the Tampa Bay area. And this goes back to all of the conversation over the course of the season, you guys, about where Brady's head is at. There was a lot of talk, of course, about the time that he was off and he missed training camp. There's been the conversations about going to the Robert Kraft wedding as well and being there and whether or not he should have been there. Of course, Bill Belichick declined his invitation to that wedding. So Brady's mentality, given that the Bucs are 3-5, we talked about it before the stream, Dan, that it's his third straight loss, first time since 2002. Brady doesn't appear to be Brady on the field. Is that because Brady doesn't feel like Brady off the field?
Well, I think it's a fair question. Todd Bowles addressed it today, his day after the game press conference. He was asked about, the divorce being finalized. Has this had an impact on Tom Brady? It was just a straight up question. And he said that, well, how can it not? Tom Brady's a human being. And he also said that Brady comes in with a smile on his face, he gets his work done, and he's not walking around the building showing signs that it's affecting work. And that played into, as Coach said, all walks of life, all occupations. People go through these issues, deaths in the family, off-field distractions, different things can impact your preparation during the week. These guys live in a microscope, so every single thing they do is measured. And it's easy to see, oh, well, he slept. He's not paying attention. Well, that's all of us. And so you just got to get through it. That was his kind of his overall sentiment for Tom Brady. He's got to get through it just like everyone else gets through it. Obviously, within the walls of the Bucs facility, there's just nothing but support for him. And obviously, and I've said this before too, that football for Tom Brady should be, I hope, is therapeutic in that it's his chance to dive into his world, his favorite thing, his hobby, whatever you want to call it, and not think about anything else. It's waiting for him as soon as he leaves, but for a few hours, and especially on game days, game nights, this is what he can think about and focus on. I would hope from the selfish sports fan side that maybe getting to this stage, now the speculation's out of it, now maybe he's asked less about it. Maybe that frees him up a little bit in life to just kind of catch his breath and maybe come to work a little more focused. I don't know.
What do you think, Karen?
I mean, I think there's just the major human aspect of it. You know, I'm sure it's just, you know, it just goes to show that just everybody has things going on in their lives and you don't know what's going on. And, you know, I feel like that's like my first and foremost thought is you just hope that, you know, he's able to work through this. And I think that's the sort of where I stand on it. I mean,
and two, you know, I'd be curious to know, as far as maybe the two of you know, as far as being our Bucs insiders, when you work anywhere, you of course develop bonds with your colleagues, with your coworkers, and you know, sometimes those relationships and those bonds that you form at work go beyond the scope of your professional, you know, day-to-day responsibilities. Is there? I would only hope that there are those in the Buccaneers organization that are there for, you know, Brady, or as they would be any other teammate if they had that special bond with that teammate, to be there and supportive of him. Are there any players on the Buccaneers that you both have, you know, been covering him the last few seasons since he's been here in Tampa Bay? Is there anybody that Tom is really close with that you just know that he? If he needed somebody to talk to, I think there's a lot of people that Tom could talk to as far as his life. But as far as being with the Buccaneers organization, who's that go-to person in the locker room if he was having a rough day he could talk to about it?
I don't know.
Is it Gabbert?
Well,
maybe Mike Evans?
It's well known he's a very private person.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm not sure within the Bucs roster or staff or anybody in the building, I'm not sure who he would go to. You know, he's around the quarterbacks all day.
Right. Yeah.
So those are the closest ones. I go back to the 2020 when they were working out on the high school field. He was with the receivers and a few of the names that were out there. He's got to have a little bit of a bond with those guys, but I don't know how much he's leaning on that. He has lifelong friends for sure. Guys going back to college. In his early days with the Patriots guys, there's guys that he's still close to. I'm pretty sure that all of those close people, maybe even Gronk, I would hope have reached out to him in some fashion. And then it's on him to respond and say, yeah, thanks for reaching out. Really appreciate it. And those folks will be able to read into his answers and see if he's really doing okay.
Anything else to add, Karen, before we move on to Week 9, our preview?
No, I think Dan covered it.
All right. As we're here on Bucs Bonus, again, powered by 1-800-ASK Gary. Of course, the very latest on this story, which is major news today. It's on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. But quite frankly, given the nature of this story and the magnitude of their super couple status internationally, let's be real. You're going to find this news anywhere you'd like to find it on the World Wide Web. But turning now our attention to, of course, Week 9. Now, a little bit of some off time for the Buccaneers as they get a little bit of that cushion because, of course, it's a 10-day layoff between now and Week 9. The Rams come into town, the world champion, the Super Bowl champion Rams, and a little bit of an interesting matchup given, of course, what transpired last year. Stafford, the Rams coming into Raymond James Stadium, they are 3-3, taking on the Buccaneers at 3-5, 425 kick off as we look here at your key storylines on Bucs Bonus. And you and I talked about this, Dan, before we walked into the Stream Center. Are changes coming for the Buccaneers? 3-5 with the amount of talent on this roster is not indicative of what was the lofty expectations ahead of this season. So are there any changes coming between now and that Week 9 matchup with the Rams?
Well, changes didn't happen today, and this was one of the first opportunities. If you thought, all right, well, if Todd Bowles or Jason Light or somebody or the Glaciers even are going to do something drastic, this is it. So you come off of this game, and now you had Todd Bowles' press conference already, and nothing was alluded to. So if something happens in the afternoon or the evening, then that's when it does. But so now you get through the weekend, and we're talking about jobs here. It's the elephant in the room, really. People are, you can say whatever you want. Scapegoat, they're pointing the finger at Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator. It's you got to make a decision for the long term and for the immediate term. You've played 8 games. You're technically at the halfway point here. Next game, you're over the hump heading into the final weeks. If you are contemplating a change in that position or that capacity, there's no point in waiting at this juncture, because there's still a chance to save your season. There's two types of teams make changes: ones that are going one direction, and the other ones who are trying to put the brakes on some trouble and fix things. It didn't happen today. I think that we get through the weekend. That's my opinion.
Karen, you mentioned a short time ago, you said that there was a myriad of problems that are facing the Buccaneers, which means it's not like one person that you could pinpoint it on, given where the Buccaneers are at 3-5. So you agree changes probably not coming between now and Week 9?
So Todd Bowles was saying, like, schematically, they're going to look at a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Look at personnel. What are we doing wrong? Who needs to be in different places? And he said that last night, too, in regards to we need to sit down and just sort of look at the whole thing and just see what we need to do. Just sort of a deep dive that, you're talking about a couple extra days and more work that you can get in that regard, and do a deeper dive, I guess, in film study and just looking at every single play and what went wrong with each person. But Bowles said today, like, schematically, we're gonna see what we can change.
The coaches. The coaches have a busy weekend ahead of them. The players, not so much. Now, the Bucs schedule for the week, originally, they're off today, Saturday, Sunday. Originally, they were not back in the building till Tuesday. They were off Monday. Now they're going to practice on Monday for a little, you call it a bonus practice. They won't even have an injury report that day. So that tells me that the coaches are going to sit down, look at this, self-scout, whatever you want to call it, and try something, and maybe Monday we come out and the players will be handed something, a little tweak here and there. It's not going to be vastly different.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like, we're watching this Rams game and
yeah,
I can't even think of a scenario where you're talking about, Scotty Miller's your starting wide receiver. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's going to be something where you're like, well, that's different. I think it's going to be like a play calling.
Possibly. I just think that the weapons are not assembled to their fullest. This was something during the offseason and during training camp was always possible, and it's the worst case scenario or lesser of the preferred scenarios, I guess you could say. Until these pieces are together, it's just not clicking. And I think I said the word. Is it stubbornness to keep going to the same scheme and the same offense, even though now it's out there? Teams, some bad defenses have shut down this offense. The sample's there. I don't know.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room that we haven't talked about since this episode began. Bruce Arians is the head coach of the Buccaneers the last 2 seasons, of course, with Tom Brady at the helm at the quarterback position. Todd Bowles takes over this year. Different head coach, even though Todd Bowles, of course, an Arians disciple, if you will, now in charge of this team. Is the seat getting hot at all for Bowles, given the fact that he's the head coach of a team that is supposed to be, way ahead in the NFC South and now sitting at 3-5, Karen?
I don't think so. No. I mean, because you're talking about, I look at the personnel, right? Mm-hmm. And the changes from last year to this year. I mean, I don't know if we're understating the value of Rob Gronkowski or the fact that Ryan Jensen was there. I mean, those are just the two top of mind. You don't have Ndamukong Suh. You don't have Jason Pierre-Paul. I mean, you can go on. And as you mentioned, Chris Godwin isn't healthy. No, I think it's a player's execution thing. And the injuries, oh my goodness. How many injuries did they have? Seven starters out yesterday.
I know injuries affect everybody and they affect all teams, but I'll tell you this. We get these injury reports every week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and every player on both teams is listed. And you'll see for the Bucs, sometimes 13, 14 guys on this injury report, and then the opponent has 4.
Right.
And so it's and trust me, the injury reports are accurate. Can't lie on the injury report. It's a no-no. Even when you take a day off, it has to go on the injury report. Rest, whatever you want to call it. But the Bucs had 6 officially out going into Thursday, and then on Thursday they rolled Akeem Hicks out. So Akeem Hicks, Antoine Winfield Jr., who in my opinion is the best player on the defense right now, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Carlton Davis. These are opening night starters, all out. And now Shaq Barrett is out, and now you got to go play the Rams next week.
Right. That's all of those things that we just said. I mean, it's everything come together. The injuries, execution, not having players that you did last year. And the teams that they're playing, I hate this phrase, but like, it's true that like if you're in the NFL, you can win a game. Like, these are all very good players. Larry Foote was saying we don't look at the team's record if they have one win.
Right.
Because you see what's happened is that any team can win on any Sunday.
True. I love that you brought up Antoine Winfield because I couldn't help but think, my goodness, he was missed last night. He's used to just making a couple of plays where you're very grateful that he's on the football field because of how adept he is at playing the safety position. But you guys are right too. I'm just looking here at the Bucs and their schedule. There have been this has not been an easy run-of-the-mill schedule, like
Oh no!
No, and we knew that going into
back
it too.
Oh my goodness!
In April when this came out, it was like, oh my goodness.
Opening up against the Cowboys,
this
then
was a hard
going
schedule.
into New Orleans against the Saints.
Yeah,
you had the Packers, Chiefs. My goodness, and now the Ravens, and then the Rams. I mean, look, this is
who, by the way, JB. The Rams aren't even in first place in their division.
Right.
That's how good the NFC West is right now. The team that's leading that division is the team the Bucs play in Munich. And at one point, you thought, oh, they're going to blow the Seahawks out of the water over in Germany, back during when you're looking at the schedule at the beginning of the year. It's a very difficult game. Rookie running back on Seattle. I know we'll talk about that down the way, but
and
boy,
DK,
that team has put themselves together. I think I read the Seahawks, just about every one of their draft picks not only made the roster, but is contributing.
That's wild.
And so it's
Pete Carroll doing Pete Carroll things.
Teams. Yeah. And so my point is, here are the Rams coming in here. I don't know obviously we don't know what they're going to do this weekend, but they're a little bit, they're trying to save their season.
They're figuring it out for
sure.
They're
trying to figure it out. The 49ers were in first in the NFC West. Seattle has jumped them. Basically, it's a 3-team race over there, and unfortunately it's become a 3-team race in the NFC South as well. However, the 3 teams in the NFC West might all make it to the postseason. That's how good the NFC West is, and that's what the Bucs are now getting into, this portion of the schedule.
You're talking, I want to make sure I have this right. You're talking Seahawks, Rams, Niners. Because,
correct.
Let's also remind our audience, the Cardinals are no pushover either.
Exactly.
That's a really good 4th team in that division. But as we look at the NFC South, which is likely right now the worst division in football, a division that was in large part the Buccaneers were supposed to be dominating, the Falcons are atop the NFC South right now.
They are.
With a record at 3-4. Really quickly, I want to focus on the Rams here. As far as stopping the Rams in Week 9, your game planning, of course, around just a meteorite in the center of that defensive line, and Aaron Donald, of course. You can't not game plan and try to strategize for him. And then, of course, on the offense, Cooper Kupp is one of the very, very best as far as just carving up a a defense, whether it's in the slot or playing out wide, or they get creative with him as well. What's the game plan? Trying to, of course, make sure that history doesn't repeat itself with the Rams as the Buccaneers host the Rams in Week 9. Karen, why don't we start with you? What is the focus for Todd Bowles? Just anything and everything is on the table, right? We just got to fix things.
The focus is to score points, JB.
Yeah.
At the beginning and the
Brady
end.
get
We're
in
not
here?
even game planning at this point. It's like score some points, get into the end zone,
Get a
string
lead.
some drive.
Get a lead.
They had a lead in this last
Right.
game, so we checked that box. Okay, we can do that. Mm-hmm. Score points.
And then hold
I'm not even
lead.
getting too deep with that. We're like, score one more point than the other team.
Well, Cooper Kupp has been a Bucs killer, and he's continuing his ways in the NFL. Excellent fantasy football guy as well. But remember in the playoff game last year, what got the Bucs back in it? Turnovers. So if you can get turnovers against the Rams, that's going to keep the game close. And I would say that if the Bucs can get turnovers, they would play with the lead.
If I'm not mistaken, there wasn't a single turnover last night.
They haven't had a turnover since week 4 against the Chiefs.
But even the Bucs didn't turn over the ball last night.
they
So we
didn't.
saw turnover-less football last
I don't know
night
what
on
they
Thursday
ruled
night.
that punt. Was it a muff?
Yeah,
punt?
it's a turnover.
So
I
I
guess
guess it
that's
does count as a turnover.
Yeah.
By the way,
was-
back to the start of the
bad.
game, the defensive stop by the Bucs to start the game.
To hold them to 3 was
right.
major.
Yeah.
Then you get the punt disaster, and it's 1st and goal, and you're like, here we go. And the defense gets a stop.
It was
After
major.
that, they keep them to a field goal. I thought, all right, this team's different.
And then they went down and scored 7.
They went down and scored 7. It's just everything you wanted to see. You just said boxes were checked.
Yeah.
In the first 5 minutes of the game, there were 3 boxes checked.
First quarter was solid.
And you thought this was going to be a good thing. Then at halftime, the Ravens decided, you know what? Let's turn Lamar loose.
Yep.
And then the whole game changed. And then,
Even without Mark Andrews sitting on the sideline last night.
Hurt his shoulder.
Yep. Lamar Jackson was still able to lead the Ravens to a win. So I love the in-depth. And I say, Karen, what do the Bucs need to do? And her in-depth analysis is 2 words: score points.
We're just not overthinking that one.
Just score points.
Isn't it amazing what happens to your record when you score more points than the opponent?
Crazy.
It is crazy.
It's
wild.
Yes.
So, Dan, I'll throw it back to you. What did the Bucs really need to do as far as game planning, just getting ready for the Rams? Because 3-6, I happen to think that 3-6 is a huge difference between 3-6 and 3-5. Is this a must-win game for the Bucs?
We're getting there. We're getting there. They're 3-5 through 8 games. If they go 5-4, that still gives them an 8-9 record. So when you look at the
good
9
enough.
remaining games,
There you go.
Did I do it right?
I don't know.
I hope
I was
did.
hoping you
check
did.
after.
I
5
wasn't
and
fact
4
checking.
would be 8-9, and I think 8-9, a losing record, will win the NFC.
Oh,
South.
my God.
I think
That's the
that
way the
8-9
NFC East has been, though.
Yeah.
I think 8-9 would take the last game of the season, the Bucs at the Falcons, Mercedes-Benz.
That might decide it.
That might be in the playoffs, because if you don't win the division, you're not going to the playoffs. And right now, if the playoffs started today, the Bucs are out.
Well, we asked in a interactive. We're live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook Live. If anyone else wants to get our attention, you can say hello to us in the Facebook Live comment section. We asked in an interactive poll on Facebook Live: will the Buccaneers make the playoffs? Any guesses, really quickly,
Show us the
percentage-wise?
results.
Right now the fans are angry.
Yeah, they're angry.
So
that's my hint. They're angry.
I'm going to say it's definitely more than half say no. So I'm going to go with, give me a number.
No, I'm not giving you my number.
Oh, I got to, we're both saying?
Yeah, I think so. Was
I'm supposed to go first?
The
Yeah,
directive?
a percentage number of fans that, yeah.
I think that.
Are we doing percentage of no?
I'm going to say 65% of the fans out there say no.
Okay. Karen, what you got?
I say 54% say no.
Okay.
54.
The votes are still coming in right now on Facebook Live. We've gotten hundreds of them. I'm not kidding, hundreds. And it's 72% of fans say no. The Bucs
See,
will
Wait,
They're
what
out
number did
there.
you say?
64.
Okay.
not make the playoffs.
They're out there. The torches are lit. The mob is ready.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I honestly, as a Bucs fan, you have every right to be angry right now. This team, you look at the talent.
Yep, it's loaded.
What it's got on the team, that the experience that even the young guys have accrued over the last 2 years. And again, injuries, in my own opinion, injuries are probably one of the biggest culprits of why they can't get their own system going. They've got a lot of things to work on with themselves, and that's funny. Todd Bowles was asked about that today, the Rams, preparing for the Rams, and his answer was, we need to work on ourselves.
Yeah.
So they got to get some things figured out. It's not far-fetched to think the Bucs can go on a run with the talent
Sure.
they have.
Right,
And
exactly.
guys
Looking at the roster.
It would just be more Brady magic, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it would be. I think that as the O-line gets better, I thought Nick Leverett played okay last night. There's just so many differences between last year and the year before. Just take the O-line with Ali Marpet and Ryan Jensen. You're now basically using 3 guys to replace them. Robert Hainsey, last night it was Nick Leverett. You're keeping a tight end in there or having the running back try and chip the pass rushers. It's different. You can't run the plays the same way you did last year. You don't have Marpet and Jensen helping Donovan Smith.
Again, you're talking about not having Rob Gronkowski. Not only was he a red zone threat, he was also a self-proclaimed blocking tight end.
Yeah.
That's a huge body in there that was an added guy to block for the run game.
Sure.
Yeah, and they're trying. Yeah, you can see when you watch this game, they're trying to get the ball out of Brady's hands quickly, as quick as possible. That's why they throw a lot of these sideline passes and screens. And the offense it's supposed to go that way, not this way. And he does not have time to do that. When he does, boys, he's hitting big passes.
Yeah, Evans
Godwin
had
had a big one. Evans had the
Godwin
51.
had 41, I think. 41
Yeah.
or 44.
So, they got to get I think the protection, if that improves, that the offense can get going.
And again, the execution on the receiving end too. If you're talking about there's going to be limited shots downfield, they have to be 100% on those.
Well,
and Mike Evans has admitted there were the one in the Panthers game, and then there was one last night where he's like, I have to make those.
Right. And
he
they finally made it
a
past
few,
20 points
Yeah.
again, JB. They've done it twice this season, and both games they lost. So
Say that again?
They finally got beyond 20 points.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think they're gonna have to trade points with the Rams, I guess, is my big point. And that's what happened in the playoff game last year. They caught up, and then we were waiting for an exciting overtime, and then the big Cooper Kupp play led to the game-winning field goal. But that's not how you play the Rams. The Bucs, that was willpower. You don't want to get into that situation. You trade points with them, take your chances. You don't want to be 2 scores down to the Rams. Are you kidding? That's a long day.
Well, you hope that a little bit of extra time off is exactly what the Buccaneers need. Dark times for Brady and the Bucs as they try to salvage their season, and they do so not this Sunday, but the following Sunday against the Los Angeles Rams, the Super Bowl champs coming into town, taking on the previous Super Bowl champs before them. Again, 4:25 kickoff. Before we wrap up this edition of Bucs Bonus, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY, a special hello to those of you listening right now on Spotify. Bucs Bonus is now on Spotify. It's coming to other podcast platforms too. So if you're listening on a long car ride or truck ride, or you're listening on a run or walk, maybe with your dog, a special hello from Dan Lucas, Karen Loftus, and myself.
Hello.
Hello, Spotify.
Hello.
They begged us.
Welcome.
I hope
begged
you're not
us at
sitting in
Spotify.
traffic. If you're sitting in traffic, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was thinking that I like the walk, out on a walk. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, listen
Just
to your favorite sports
podcasts
podcast. Yeah.
On a walk.
Picture yourself.
Yeah.
You're a
Dan
Bucs.
went
picture your-
gridlock.
You're a
I was
Bucs-
like, I'm
well,
thinking
because
nature.
You know what?
Sunset.
I'm a Bucs fan. I'm living. I'm out west. I'm gonna go on a walk. I'm really bummed about the game last night. You know what? I'm gonna talk Bucs on my walk.
Yeah.
I love it. No, you know what? You're sitting in gridlock and you're like, you know what? I've had it. I'm agitated. Let's talk Bucs. I'm mad about the game last night. I got my lit torch. I'm angry. What's that poll? 70? What was it? 72?
Have the numbers moved? What's our poll?
Our poll is holding firm at a 72-28
All right,
split.
so it's settled in. The anger is official.
364 people voted
72% say no playoffs for the Bucs.
for air tonight. If you guys are going to be on WFLA
I feel like I want to do.
Channel
Can
8.
we do this poll every week and just to get a temperature check?
Sure.
Ooh.
Like
We're
that,
absolutely
if
can.
we could do that.
Let's say, okay.
I
know all
want to
Bucs
record
fans,
it.
Everybody
each
wants to
week.
see a win over the Rams, right? So they beat the Rams. I don't care how they do it. They get the win. Does everybody exhale? Or are we now picking apart how it happened?
Because
I feel like generally speaking, when you're talking about fans, you're like, what is it for a victim of the moment, I guess?
Right.
It's like if they win, then you're talking yes, next week they win. Yeah, it was Super Bowl. We're turning it around. Turn the pirate ship around, like Tristan Wirth said.
Though I look at this schedule, and the schedule ahead beyond the Rams isn't all that friendly. All right, you got the Seahawks. The Seahawks are no pushover.
And it's like a road game.
Yep.
Like you're traveling.
Then you've got the Browns. Now is Deshaun Watson back for that game for the Browns? Not yet, right?
No, it's the week before he comes back.
Okay, so that's the last Deshaun Watson-less game for the Browns. Then the Saints come into town. Always a tough matchup at
Monday
home,
Night Football.
but tough. Then you got the Niners, and they're rejuvenated with the trade for Christian McCaffrey. You got the Bengals, Joe Burrow coming into town. We talked about the Cardinals not being a pushover. The Panthers already beat us. And then the last game of the season, the Falcons, which may very decide this season. And who actually takes the division. My goodness. Okay, folks, that's going to do it for us. Karen just let out
Oh my God, I tried to like stifle it.
No, it was
a long evening at
It
the
was a
stadium.
long night for Karen.
It was
so
like
if
a
you caught her
yawn,
on
but I
video-
like tried to like stifle
With the
it, so it
yawn.
was
I'm not-
probably
I-
just super awkward.
No, it's okay. I can't not let our audio audience not know that Karen just
If
If you're
Whatever.
listening on
yawned a little bit.
Spotify, Karen Loftus is on a little sleep.
She
working the
was
game last night,
busting her you-know-what last night at Raymond James Stadium. Our entire, of course, Bucs team bringing you the very latest on WFLA News Channel 8, your official Bucs station. And we're here with you every Friday, 4 o'clock for Bucs Bonus here across now multiple platforms. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Spotify. Hello, WFLA.com. Bucs Bonus is powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY, and it is on the shoulders of Dan Lucas, Karen Loftus, our Bucs insiders, who bring us this insight each and every week and bring us everything related to Bucs football. I'd like to thank Dan and Karen. I'd like to thank you watching or listening wherever you are watching or listening from. Go Bucs, and we'll see you next time on Bucs Bonus, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY.